Hey, how are you doing today? This is kind of a new time of day for me to be doing a webinar, so I'm just gonna give folks a minute to, do whatever. My name is Denise Wellick-Peterson. Tonight we are, hey Diane, tonight we are doing the weight loss tips for women over 40, things that you can start implementing right away. I am very excited to share this information with you guys. As you click on, I'd love to see a hey, where you're from, Happy New Year, what's going on. If you are catching this as a replay, I'd love for you to hit hashtag replay. And for everybody, as we go through the topics tonight, if you have any questions, be sure to drop them in the comments. I will try to answer them as they come in, or if you're catching the replay, I will circle back later, whether that be tonight or very early tomorrow morning, and answer your questions. I'm kind of an early bird, so we are up real close to my bedtime, guys, so I will do my best, okay? So, quick disclaimer, I am not a doctor. I don't play one on the internet. I have been a certified personal trainer for almost 20 years and a certified hormone specialist for pushing 7 pretty hard. So be sure to stay on to the end to get extra questions answered and for the exclusive watch and live bonuses. I am Denise Wellick-Peterson. I am the founder of the Menopause Project and the creator of the Use Your Cycle method. And I am the host of the Meno Minis podcast, which, by the way, we just started season 2. It dropped tonight. You can catch that on Apple or wherever you catch podcasts. I've been a certified personal trainer for almost 2 decades, helping hundreds of women, and I've been a certified hormone coach for almost 7 years. Why did I decide to become a hormone specialist after all those years as a personal trainer? Let me take you back. I was in my late 30s because my girls were 13 or 14. I have twin daughters, and we had a lot of hormones in our house, a ton of hormones. Business was stressful. Husband and I were newly-ish weds. The girl's dad was always just kind of a pill. And there was a lot of stress floating around. And one night we were getting ready for bed, we were joking, we were laughing hysterically, and literally I went from laughing hysterically to crying, snot flying, just an awful, awful, ugly cry. And the next morning my husband was like, what happened? What's going on? And being somebody who isn't really an emotional outbreak kind of person, I was dazed. I was kind of left with like, what's going on? And it left me thinking, okay, what's going on? I'd had 50-ish year old clients starting to hint at this whole menopause thing. And it was like, oh my God, I think I'm starting menopause. So much unclarity, right? So much unclarity. Here I am 12 years later and still no menopause, no full-on menopause anyway. So I started researching, I started reading, and that just led to becoming a hormone specialist. And weird stuff going on right here. There we go. And as I became more educated, it was like, why is nobody talking about this stuff? Some of this stuff is so basic. Some of this stuff is such easy little tweaks. And I started hormone boot camp, and the women in hormone boot camp started sleeping again. Their brains started working again. Their boobs and their butt lifted. Their pants started falling off. Their husbands had sparks flying again, and the women were feeling more vibrant than they'd felt in years. And so this just leads me to my absolute disbelief that menopause has to be such a horrible experience. To be honest, I never really thought it did, but it's my goal to make menopause a no big deal. And just as I started figuring out all the tricks and the nuances of working with menopause without working out in menopause, I gained 20 pounds in 2 months. Menopause is a very cruel trickster if you are unprepared for her. So my goal for today is to clue you in on the ins and outs of peri and menopause and how to pivot as your hormones change, And I'm going to give you 5 tips that you can start tonight, even as early as tonight, or you can wait till tomorrow morning to jumpstart your weight loss during peri and menopause. Are you ready? So first up, a few quick notes on peri and menopause, because I find that generally when I start talking about peri and menopause, what I first get is, that's not me. I'm not there yet. I'm not old enough. So let's start with a few definitions maybe. So these tips that I'm going to share today work for you whether you're in perimenopause, postmenopause, full menopause, or you are nowhere near menopause, you just are a menstruating human. These tips are going to work for you. Your hormones could go off kilter as early as your mid-30s. Perimenopause is a whole lot like puberty. It's just a shift in fertility that is related to your hormones. It's not something you did wrong. It just is a fact of life. Hormones are just messengers that we control, I don't know if that's quite the right word, control through food, exercise, and stress levels. And number 5, the reason that weight loss is so much harder in our 40s is the dang cortisol switch. You see, 10,000 years ago, when a tiger was chasing us, this switch turned on and we ran for our lives. If we succeeded, we had burnt the cortisol off. Today, our boss yells at us, traffic is particularly horrible, or our spouse, and we have an argument with our spouse or our partner, and the cortisol turns on, but we never burn off the cortisol. We don't run. You literally have to run off the cortisol. You have to move off the cortisol. And then, around age 40, that damn switch breaks. And instead of being off and on, it's a dimmer switch. And it never fully shuts off. And so now we run around with this low-grade cortisol leak. Know what cortisol does? Stores fat, slows digestion, decreases fertility, all in the name of survival. You got to run from that tiger. So, what are we going to do? Here's the top 5 tips that you can start today. Yes, even at 7 p.m. Or you can wait till tomorrow morning. So, tip number 1. Do you have your pens and papers out? Because these are important. Have breakfast every day and make sure there is protein in that breakfast. For 2 reasons. First, breakfast starts your metabolism. I'm not going to argue the finer points of intermittent fasting, but for most women, intermittent fasting causes a stress response. And stress equals cortisol. And cortisol leads to fat storage around your midsection. Second, heavy on the protein. You'll feel full longer. You'll prevent cravings later in the day. You'll increase your energy and your concentration will improve. It'll help you lose weight too. And 3, you could have a donut. You're going to get a sugar spike, which is chased by an insulin spike. You know what insulin does? Keeps the brain alive. Know what sugar does? Not keep the brain alive. Controls the sugar. So insulin stores around your middle. More storing around the middle. Have a breakfast that's heavy on the protein. All right, tip number 2 ties in kind of closely with tip number 1. Have your protein before you have caffeine. Yes, before your cup of coffee. I know a lot of women say, I'm not hungry though in the morning, and you need your coffee to get going. And guess what hormone coffee wakes up? Yeah, cortisol. And cortisol stores fat. You don't have to have a full-on farmer special of steak and eggs, but what about just having a hard-boiled egg or a protein shake or a piece of meatloaf from last night's supper? It doesn't have to be a lot of protein, but just like protein stunts the sugar spike and stunts the insulin, protein also stunts the cortisol spike that follows caffeine. so you have a little bit of protein, and then go ahead and have your cup of coffee. Quick side note, tip 2.5. Caffeine is kind of fickle. It can be a hormone disruptor. It may not be a hormone disruptor for you. It depends on if you have the MTHFR gene. So I highly recommend you cut back on caffeine as much as possible. That being said, I'm a 2 cup of coffee a morning type of girl too. But it's good to know that even a cup of coffee 15 hours before bedtime might actually be preventing sleep. So tuck that away in the back of your head. Tip number 3, eat your vegetables. I do not care if you do not like vegetables. You need to keep trying till you find the ones you like, the way you like to eat them. All of that fiber helps keep you regular. And regularity means that there's no extra toxins sitting around in your system. Because you see what happens when you don't poop regularly and often, like at least once a day, your body goes back to the colon and says, was there any other nutrients we didn't quite get out? Anything else we can still use? And excess estrogen, they go, oh, let's pull that out. We can still use that. You know what else extra estrogen causes? Hot flashes, night sweats, weight gain, anxiety. Actually, just about every stereotypical menopause symptom, except those pesky little whiskers. That one's testosterone. Regardless, you don't want extra estrogen sitting around in your system. You need to eat your veggies to push the toxins out through the poop. And I said vegetables. I did not say fruits and vegetables. And I do mean at every single meal. And I mean 8 cups of raw, like leafy greens. Actually, leafy greens is like 12. So if you mix it with green beans and other vegetables, about 8 cups of raw or cooked vegetables a day. Now, I know that 8 cups sounds like a lot, but you don't have to add it all tomorrow, but start adding a serving or 2 every meal until you get there. Okay? So what might that look like? Because I'm not gonna lie. I grew up with cereal for breakfast. I kind of have a sweet tooth. So the thought of vegetables for breakfast, gross, right? But like, let's think this through. What does vegetables for breakfast look like? An omelet, a spinach mushroom omelet, an asparagus omelet, some kind of scramble with peppers and onions in it, or an egg bake or a quiche, right? That might be where vegetables come in at breakfast. We're not talking carrots and celery sticks. I mean, you can, but it doesn't have to be, right? Let's think about something that sounds delicious. What does veggies for lunch look like? It might look like a great big old salad. I use the bags of salad every day. Or it might look like a vegetable-based soup, right? As the weather is chillier, maybe you're making soup. What does veggies look like at supper? They might be grilled. You might saute them. You might roast them. Experiment with different ways to cook your vegetables. And for a snack, what does that look like? Again, it doesn't have to be carrots and celery sticks, guys. It can be like I cut up bell peppers and have pepper sticks, or it can be zucchini rounds and hummus, right? Think outside the diet box, because if it's a diet, it's not something you're going to keep doing. You want to find a lifestyle that you can do for the next 50 years, right? So find the vegetables that you like. Find the ways that you love to make them. How's everybody doing? If you have any questions, be sure you're dropping them in the comments. Now, I'm going to get back to those last 2 tips, but real quick, just a couple of things I want to make sure. These are all things that I go into great detail with my Use Your Cycle method clients. And what I'm sharing here today is kind of the before the method starts. It's the basics. It's the 101s. Once my clients get dialed into these 101 tips, then we do the hormone system reboot for their hormones. It's not supplements. It's just a digestive break to kind of help their digestive tract clear out and get rid of the things that they're intolerant to, and then they already start to feel better. Once we're done with that, we talk about their lives. We talk about what's important to them. Is it going out for happy hours? Is it spending time with kids? Is it sleep? What is important to you? And then how do we get there the quickest? Which protocols in the Use Your Cycle method do we implement first so that you're not missing out on the fun parts of life? Because again, the Use Your Cycle method is not a diet. It's a lifestyle change that we work on cycle after cycle after cycle until it becomes second nature. In fact, some of the women, they never even do all of the protocols, and they find that they get more time back when they do it. And within the 4 months of the Use Your Cycle method, they're losing pant sizes, they're sleeping better, their energy is increasing. They don't need to snack and graze their way through the day. They're able to give up energy drinks and coffee in the afternoon. Their PMS symptoms decrease, and they notice the decrease by their second cycle. Their periods start to become a surprise. They find that the energy during PMS week and menstruation week increases. Their memory comes back. They're not getting their cyclical migraines anymore. The stress around food and exercise is decreased. Night sweats and hot flashes start to disappear until all of a sudden one day you look back and go, I haven't had a hot flash in a month. Isn't that fantastic? Their hair quits falling out. And of course, they have weight loss. They have weight loss. That's what we do in the Use Your Cycle method. That's how we expand on this 101. So the stuff we're learning tonight is the basics. There's so much more involved in using your cycle. All right, tip number 4. Eat more protein. What I have seen in the years and years in the gym is that as we get older, as we start cutting calories, as we're like, I'm getting heavier, I need to cut calories, protein is what's getting cut because it's higher in fat than vegetables. And I want to encourage you to quit looking at that higher in fat number and know that you need the protein. You know that you need the protein. As our hormones shift, it becomes harder for us to process protein. So not only are we making sure to get enough protein just to support the muscles that we already have and maintain the muscle mass that we have, we need to get just a little bit more to make up for the protein that we aren't able to process. Okay? Studies right now done on elite level female athletes show that more than any other age group, including 18 to 25-year-old men, menopausal and postmenopausal women need the most protein pound for lean pound. So ladies, my macro counters here, a bare minimum of 125 grams of protein every single day. Okay, so that really does mean you're going to be needing to eat protein at breakfast, at lunch, at snack, at dinner. You need to be eating protein all day long. Keep a steady supply floating through so that you can maintain your muscle mass. Now, I went really in depth on this today in my podcast on Meno Minis, so be sure you check that out if you want more details on why protein is so darn important. Okay? Now, a cautionary tale on all of this protein, because when I do talk to women for the first time, I usually find that they're eating maybe 60 to 75 grams of protein a day. So an increase to 125 grams of protein is a really big increase. So don't do it all at once, okay? Add 5 or 6 grams of protein a day. A hard-boiled egg is the equivalent of about 6 grams of protein a day. So add 5 or 6 grams of protein every other couple days, and within 3 weeks, you should be up to that 125 grams of protein. Kind of same thing for vegetables. Well, eventually, eating vegetables at every meal is going to keep you very regular. As you switch, if you're switching from a diet of goldfish and cereal and very highly processed foods to a diet higher in raw vegetables, your body's going to be like, what's going on here? We don't know how to process this. And you may find yourself getting very constipated. So again, add it slow, but get it added. You've got about a month. You can do it in a month. But Protein is single-handedly responsible for increased energy, sleep, and concentration, weight loss, and muscle gains. Eat your protein. In case you missed it, 3 out of the first 4 tips kind of involved protein. Eat your protein. It's important. Now, for your last tip. First off, be sure you keep listening for the bonus and the Q&A. If you have any questions, be sure you put them into the comment section right now so we can get to them at the end. If you're catching the replay, be sure you drop the questions and I will circle back later and answer them all, okay? But tip number 5. Tip number 5, I promise it doesn't have anything to do with protein. It is a bigger than protein. Bigger. Especially the more hormonal upset we experience. And protein is really big. The tip? Reduce your stress. Reduce your stress. Reduce your stress. Bring your stress level down. Bring your cortisol level down. It is imperative. It is imperative. I talked earlier about the slow leak, the dimmer switch thing at the beginning. Cortisol stores fat in your middle because it's very easy to get there. Cortisol comes from eating too much, from eating too little, from fasting, from too much exercise, from too little exercise, from too much TV, from too much sugar, from too little sleep, from too much sleep, from caffeine, from lack of touch, from traffic, from your kids, from your partner, and of course, yelling bosses and tigers chasing us. Cortisol comes to us so easily. We need to reduce our stress. And it's kind of like if you're not actively gaining muscle, you're actively losing muscle. If you are not actively reducing your stress, your cortisol level is actively increasing and storing fat around your middle. So here are some ways that you can reduce your stress. I dare you to figure out which one's my favorite. Have a sauna. Have a massage. Watch I Love Lucy kind of funny shows. Pets, laughter, meditation, restorative yoga, breathing techniques, meditation, strolling, orgasm, painting, hobbies, sex, right? These are all ways to reduce your stress. So, do you think that you can incorporate one of these 5 tips into your life? In the comments, which one will you start right away tomorrow? Will you have breakfast right away before your coffee? Will you have food before your coffee? Will you add an extra serving of vegetables? Can you add some more protein so you start making strides to that 125 grams? Which way will you choose to reduce your stress? You could do that tonight yet. Okay, that's me assuming everybody works first or second shift. Maybe not. You don't have to have a partner. I would love to know what you're going to start with in the comments. What tip did you find most helpful? Like I said earlier, this is the teeniest tip of the iceberg in my Use Your Cycle method. With my clients, I cover just tons more. And within the 4 months that we work together, they feel so much better that they're learning to incorporate the protocols into their lives while they still have me in their back pocket, because I'm there to help them navigate how to go out to eat, how to deal with falling off the exercise wagon if they're even using the exercise protocol, how they go on vacation and still incorporate the protocols. How does a gal who's postmenopausal incorporate the Use Your Cycle method protocols when it all seems to be based off when their period is? Now, I've got a few spots left in my Use Your Cycle method program that are open right now. So if you're ready to go, shoot me a message and we'll talk. If not, no worries. Start with these 5 tips and let me know how it goes. But if you think the Use Your Cycle method might be for you, schedule a call by Friday, this Friday the 8th, and get the details, and I will reserve the 2020 pricing for you until this Friday. And if we can get started, we can make some major headway before, the 14th of February. If you're not sure you're ready for an in-depth program like the Use Your Cycle method, but you want to get started on something, schedule a call by Friday. We'll talk about the 4-week Jumpstart Your Perimetabolism program, and I'll hold the pricing on that one to 2020 pricing as well, as long as we talk by Friday or get in there. If you have any questions, be sure you drop them right now. I'll stay on as long as you need, but if you don't have any questions, it's getting pretty close to my bedtime and my honey just got home. And just a reminder, if you love a good sassy podcast, Season 2, Episode 1 of Menno Minis just got dropped today. It does go into a little bit more depth on protein and muscles. You might want to catch it. They're short and sweet. I like to keep them around 10 to 15 minutes. And if you love it, pass it on. Seeing no questions, I'm going to close the gallery. Oh, I've been watching too many auctions. Y'all have a great night. I look forward to seeing you in the Menopause Project.